I always have this saying that like every traffic light you fall in love. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Literally every traffic light you fall in love almost.
I love
So if you think that your heart's going to be broken, it'll be broken for a couple hours, and then you'll be okay.
Welcome to the Dating in Asia show. I am Chad, and I'm here with Nick from Australia, and we're gonna get to know Nick a little bit and figure out how he ended up in Thailand, and get a little bit of backstory and understand a little bit about your dating history and things like that. So, first of all, Nick, how old are you?
I'm 26 years old.
Okay, so
26. Yeah.
On the younger side of people I meet here that are expats living here, so. We want to understand how you ended up here at a young age and what you're up to and how things are going here in Thailand for you.
So actually I left Australia when I was 17.
Okay.
So
that's young. That's even younger.
Yeah, it's young. So before even going to university or anything like that, I was already exploring the world, getting out of Australia and ready to see Asia basically.
Wow.
So the kind of a little run through of that is I came to China when I was in the teenage years.
Okay.
With my father for business, things like this. And my older brother was actually living in China at the time.
Oh, okay. So you had some inroads.
I had some inroads, and I could see the lifestyle my brother was living and how different it was to what I grew up with, and it just excited me. And I just was like nagging my dad, "Hey, I just want to get over there."
So this is like literally right out of high school, you just take off.
Yeah. So all my friends are talking about gap years and going to study and what degrees you're going to be doing, and for me, I was a sporting kid, so schoolwork and university was never going to be my thing, and I knew that. Wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do, but I knew it would be something to do with sport, fitness, gym, something like that. And yeah, I didn't have a plan for how long or what I was going to do over there, but yeah, it's been nine and a half years now since I left. So.
Since you left Australia, and you were in which part again?
From Gold Coast, Australia, so East Coast.
So a little bit of surfing, and what other sports did you play?
So rugby union, rowing.
Awesome.
Tennis, surf lifesaving, so ocean sports.
Oh, nice.
It's big in Australia, so all the ocean sports to do with the waves and ocean swimming, triathlons, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, when we were talking earlier, I was telling Nick I grew up watching surf videos of people surfing the Gold Coast and having these long treks where they hit all the different surf breaks over a period of months around there.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was always something I wanted to do, but now I'm too old and it's probably never going to happen. Anyway, well, that's cool. I mean, that's really adventurous, and I think that is one common theme when I meet people living here in any part of Asia that are from the West. Mm-hmm. Typically they have that adventurous spirit, they want to go off and try something new. Not usually as young as you though. No,
and I mean, I guess I like to take risks. My whole kind of life has been about just taking risks because I mean, I wasn't brought up in a bad way, but my dad was very tough. And I was like, hey, if you want something, work for it. So I'm not going to hand it to you. They're not going to hand it to you. But you need to get experience. You need to fail. You need to pick yourself up. Kind of. So actually, when I look back at when I used to think my dad was quite like a full-on dad, when all my other friends were having a pretty easy life.
Yeah.
I actually look back and thank him now because I think most 17-year-olds couldn't go from a hot surf spot in like a smaller city to a random city in China with 100 million people. With no job lined up before you got there, right? Little savings. Yeah. I did have my dad to meet me there, but after that it was on your own.
And remind me which part of China you went to?
Shenzhen. So that's actually right on the border of Hong Kong. Which
is, correct me if I'm wrong, like a big manufacturing area and exporting area, right?
Huge, yeah. Right. Well, actually, so when I was there, it was about 2012, and they were just kind of starting to move the factories out of Shenzhen. But I mean, when you say moving, there's still thousands and thousands of factories. So I think
and a lot of electronics, especially, right?
Yes, yeah, huge. Actually, I think the biggest part of electronics in China is from Shenzhen. I could be wrong, but from what I witnessed, it was unbelievable. So
nice.
Yeah.
And so how long were you there in Shenzhen? And tell me about like what your first, I don't know, culture shock things were there compared to where you were from, as well as like dating in China versus back home. So
I was in China for 6 to 7 months, roughly. And I think a couple of things that I noticed first. So one, the amount of people that are just actually in that country. You hear things and say, okay, China's the most heaviest populated country on the earth, but it's not till you actually go there and you're like, wow. So you think of like big cities, like back home, like Sydney, Melbourne, where you think, oh, this is too much. And then you go to somewhere like Shenzhen or Beijing or Shanghai, where you've literally got 100 million people in one city. It's pretty overwhelming. So, and it's not like you've gone from clear blue skies and surf to almost like darkness, pollution, just people, it's just happening. Everything's lit up. And
the personal space thing changes, right? Is that a real thing that you experience?
People walk into you, and if you're a tall guy, be prepared for umbrellas to poke you in the face.
Plus you probably got a lot of attention for looking different.
Yes,
right? So being really tall. You're how tall?
6'3".
Okay, so that's 6'3". Like a giant for
190
China,
centimeters. Yeah. So you're like an NBA player to them. So, and obviously the attention you get from women. They come up, they take photos of you. They want to know who you are, where you're from. Are you famous? Why are you in China? You know, because normal people at that age don't just go to China to.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're for a quick holiday with family or a school or university or something.
Or they're traveling for sports or something like that.
Yeah. So they assume that, okay, this guy is here for a reason.
He's somebody, yeah.
But when you explain to them, like, hey, I'm here and I'm just trying to see what I can do, they're curious. Very, very curious why you've come from Australia and you're in China. But definitely I would have to say the attention you get from people is quite a huge adjustment. Yeah, so I mean, you can be a very average person, and you're still gonna. Okay,
but to be honest, you weren't average. There's not everybody in Queensland is walking around at 6'3" and athletic and good looking. I mean, you had a lot going for you anyway.
Yeah.
But you bring that to somewhere where you're even more, like super rare in China. Then you're gonna really stand out.
And especially the age. So again, being a teenager. And being like quite young and still having the kind of blondish hair and the blue eyes and things like that, it's
even more rare than other expats that are there for business.
Almost like a young exactly. So most of the businessmen you meet there are generally a bit older, 40, 50, 60, bankers or this kind of entrepreneurs, but they're not really living a very healthy lifestyle. They're partying, they're drinking, and it's great. It's fun and it's hard to ignore that side of there, but for me, like, that's not my background.
Yeah.
So mine's fitness. I'm not a big drinker. I'm not a big party guy. Of course, I do love that kind of thing. But if you're an athletic, healthy person, you're going to stand out pretty quickly in that country. So
did you were you dating right from the get go? Did you pull up dating apps like?
So a lot of the apps are blocked.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, back then there wasn't. I think that's when like Tinder and things like this were just coming out.
Just starting, okay.
Just starting, but there was actually actual local apps that you could get on that were like pure Chinese dating apps.
Oh wow!
And the thing about that is when you jump on, again, there's just an abnormal amount of women that you have to scroll through and look, and it's almost too much. So there'll be pages of girls from any age that you're looking for. I mean, most of the descriptions in Chinese. But you're just looking at photos.
But were they initiating contact with you first and stuff? So you're kind of
which
script was a little bit flipped, right?
Yeah, so that's the biggest difference is that in Australia you really have to make effort, make time, initiate conversation, arrange dating. Like it's more up to the man expected than the women to kind of reach out.
For sure.
Right.
Which is normal in the West.
Which is normal in the West. Probably not just Australia, but I'm sure UK, America, Canada. I'm sure it's very similar. So the difference is that you go on these apps. And the next morning you wake up and you just have message after message after message, and most of it's not in English, but it's either like
they're expecting you to translate
or you'd show your buddy who knows Chinese and say, "Man, what does this say?" And they're just like laughing, going, "Oh, you're gonna have a good time here."
It'd be interesting to see how awkward your flirting was if we could like get the pure translation of what you said in Chinese sometimes, like or vice versa. If you purely translate their attempts to flirt into English, like.
Yeah, a lot of missed in translation, I'm sure. Yeah. So most of the times when like friends would tell me what to say in Chinese, they'd send me it. I actually had no idea what they were saying. So sometimes they'd play games and it would
make you say something you didn't really want to say.
Something you didn't want to say, and then things were getting quite intense pretty quickly. So, but fun, a lot of fun.
So did you go through? I mean, you were 17 years old. Did you go through a phase at first where it's just like, let's date for fun? Let's just. I mean, you weren't looking probably to settle down at 17.
No. But I think it was almost like the first really good-looking girl that gave you attention. It was almost like, oh my god, let's date her. Like that's great. And then 5 minutes later, you've left a date and you're walking down the street and you see another beautiful girl, and then you've got her number, and you're just like, your mind is just like you're trying so hard to keep focus, but at the same time you're remembering that, like, hold on, wait, I'm 17. I don't know anybody here. No one knows who I am. They don't know what I'm from, what I do here. I might as well just try and enjoy myself as much as possible. But you know, I had to be very careful not to, like, you give them emotion and they act with emotion, big time. So they're very possessive. I found Chinese girls very, very possessive. So, for instance,
you had some that kind of got too into things.
And I mean, it could be 1 date or 2 dates. And this is before you've even, you know, gone to a hotel or their house or any of that kind of business.
They're already feeling like ownership of you.
It's ownership. They're already telling their friends about you. You know, they're potentially arranging a time for you to meet their family because you're like this holy white guy who's turned up.
They're going to lock you down.
Yeah, who's a potential white baby that's coming along.
That's another big value, right?
It's a big value. So young Chinese girl, good looking, with a Western husband, with a baby.
Have the mixed baby, and then that baby will be famous and be in media in China and whatnot. Right? That's their dream sometimes.
Absolutely, and then they also think that, oh, hey, actually, you know what? I actually get access to your country now.
Sure.
So actually, a lot of Chinese women want to get out of China.
See, now I didn't know that was as true for China as it is for a lot of other, like, Southeast Asia countries.
It is. It's actually, I didn't realize until I went there, but actually a high number of them are, like, so curious to know what's the show like. Can you show me some photos? Because to be honest, they don't get access to a lot of this stuff. They don't get information. There's no world news. They don't get the real stories about what's happening around the world. It's all China.
Huh.
Right. That's why they're very, like, a lot of them are very kind of like, almost like this.
Sheltered.
They're sheltered. They're written in a book almost to kind of follow the rules and nothing else.
Wow.
So when they get, you know, Western experience or someone who's come from the outside, they want to get as much information off you as possible.
Okay, so what were they like in terms of dating? In terms of, okay, so they were obviously open. They were interested in you because you're unique, you're different, you're from the West. But were they traditional and conservative and wanting to take things slow? I mean, obviously not slow in terms of introducing you to family, but, like, just in terms of, you know, just other things. Are they, like, you know, very traditional and date me for 3 or 4 weeks or 3 months before we're going to get intimate or any of that kind of stuff? Or what was it like that way? I'd
say it was almost like 50-50. So generally you'd meet, like, a girl who's very attractive, but there's a good chance that if she speaks good English, she went to, like, a Western university in China, or she's also studied overseas and she's now living back in China. Okay. So she has that Western mentality, and generally they're the ones that, you know, they really want commitment. They want you to kind of prove themselves a bit more. It doesn't mean they're not proud to have you and want to take you everywhere and show you off and, like, leech onto you, but it's not as simple as just getting them into bed and thinking that you can leave the next day, because they've already adapted to another culture and they can see, like, you know, actually you need to date me. You know, so, and then the other half was like, they're just so happy to have a white guy, whatever you want.
It's like, they're ready to go, huh?
They're okay. But in saying that, you would treat that as if, okay, this is just going to be fun. And the moment you cut that fun off, you've got crazy emotions coming up. I thought you liked me,
Yeah.
How could you do this? So
you got some stalker situations
going? Yeah, you got
going?
some stalker situations going on. Some
anything real crazy?
Some threatening situations. Yeah. So, actually, a funny story. I have an older brother who was living there with me.
Right.
He's 3 years older than I am, and he already had a taste of China for a few years before I arrived. So he was kind of showing me the ropes and what to do, what not to do, and always warning me about these girls and what not to do. And basically, I went against his word and was, you know, feeding them emotion and making them feel good, and then disappearing, which is not a smart idea.
Well, gosh, but yes, not. Yeah. But sometimes it happens without intention. Yeah. And you were a kid. I mean, you were basically a kid.
Absolutely. So, funny enough, me and my brother were actually double dating, so with 2 sisters, and we actually dated them. So,
like in relationships.
Yeah, in relationship, and we would go on double dates. It was funny. It was me and my brother and these 2 Chinese sisters, and it was great. It was fun. Until we realized that we were probably getting in too deep, and we were starting to meet the families, and, like, there was, like, you know, they were starting to talk about, I mean, you're talking 2 months of dating and we're already getting conversations about marriage, and you know, we'd love to visit Australia, and maybe it's better we move to Australia, and this kind of, you can see they really want to.
They got their life plan out with you.
They're already, like, scheduling how they want things to go. So me and my brother kind of caught on to that and realized that, hey, this is it's time to cut them loose. So let's do it together. This is a great idea. Let's take them out and let's have a conversation with them together.
Oh, wait. You're deciding that you're going to break up at the same time.
Yeah, because we were always going out together. And when they'd come over, I had a bedroom, brother had a bedroom. It was like that. So we figured, you know what, let's break up with them as brother and sister, right? So we'll do it together and we're both good, right?
This sounds like a movie or something.
Yeah. So we met them at a cafe, broke up with them, crying, absolute hysterics.
Right in public. They're
in public.
Really
obviously, we had to talk to them separate outside, and then we thought it was okay. They went together, crying and like emotional. Didn't want to say anything. Felt kind of bad because they were sweet girls and nice girls. But again, 17, my brother's 20.
But it's not like you ghosted them and just I mean, you had the conversation. You were adults about it.
Exactly.
You
so
told them where you stood.
In a Western world, you do that. Like that's kind of respected.
Yeah.
Right. But I think for them, it was the obsession they had and their fear of what if they didn't find another. And because they're actually older than us, and the problem there is like Chinese girls are wanted before the age of 30. Especially like getting married and all this kind of stuff.
But once they turn 30, that's culturally seen as
they're too old.
Wow.
So if they end up trying to find a Chinese guy to marry them, it's very, very unlikely that they're going to get picked just simply because of their age.
So this breakup for them they're extrapolating it to mean, I'm going to be single forever and this is terrible.
So when you've got, my brother was 20 at the time, 21, he was dating like a 28-year-old. She was 28, I think.
Okay.
So you can see like her time frame. And the other sister was like 2 years younger than her. So these
girls feel like their clock is ticking.
Yeah, and I'm sure they were getting pressure from their parents, that kind of stuff. So
what happened? They just got crazy stalker?
So that's when shit got real bad. So basically what happened is we didn't actually realize who these girls were. And what I mean by that is we didn't really know much about their family. We knew the parents, but they lived in a normal like Chinese building. Didn't seem anything alarming, but we did know that she had a brother.
Okay.
Never met him. Anyway, so that night we went home. We were having dinner, and we started. Actually, both of us got messages at like the same time, and it was like, immediate threats. This will be the last thing you ever do in China. You don't know who you've messed with. You broke our hearts. You don't know who our brother is. And I'm like,
so the girls are saying this about what their brother's going to do to you.
Yeah. So the girls are starting to explain that, actually turns out that their brother is quite high up in the Triads. So Triads is like Chinese gang.
Triads.
Yeah. So you think of like Yakuza,
Japanese Yakuza
gang,
or whatever. Yeah.
Yakuza, I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
And then you've got your bikie gangs in the US and your Bloods, Crips. It's gangs, murderers,
like
drug
legit
trade.
gang.
Legit. I mean, these guys run China.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they're controlling.
And her brother's in that.
Yeah, and he wasn't just in it; he's quite high up. So he's a guy.
But you didn't know any of this when you dated him, obviously.
Of course not.
Yeah.
So, and we thought, that's hilarious. So about an hour later, our security guard was calling us on the intercom down at the gate, and we answered, and he was like, he could sound a bit nervous, and he said, "You guys need to leave immediately." I'm like, what? And then so my brother's looking out the window, and there's like 14, 15, 16 Chinese guys out with machetes, baseball bats. You can see them standing there.
You're shitting me. They're standing out holding weapons.
And I'm thinking, is this actually happening? And then texts are coming through saying like, you're dead, some of the same girls, blah, blah, blah. And he basically advised us, because we had a good relation with him. He said, look, there's a back exit, take your key, go down that fire escape, and don't come back for a while. So, and he's like, and I was like, what do you mean don't let them in? He's like, I don't have a choice, right? It's like, this is how powerful these guys are.
He's security, but he's not putting himself in between you and...
His salary is not worth having his head chopped off kind of thing, right? So...
Damn, that's sketchy.
We saw them kind of running through the gate. We had probably 60 seconds to get stuff, but in that time, we ended up getting nothing. Running to the fire escape, disappearing out, getting straight on the train to the border, and in the meantime calling a friend of ours who, actually a dad's friend who's quite a high up lawyer in China, been there for like 28 years. Told him quickly while we're freaking out what's going on, and he said, you go to Hong Kong, don't come back for a week.
Wow.
He said, these guys are serious, do not come back. So we went to Hong Kong.
Wait, so you left a bunch of stuff in your apartment? All your belongings?
Everything but our passport and like wallet.
Phone.
Just the things that you need to kind of, things you can't forget in China. Communication, identity, and your money, right?
Wow.
Went to Hong Kong, came back, And we were nervous because he also, my dad's friend, the lawyer, also warned us that be careful because these guys are in with immigration, they're in with police, and they'll know where you are, but it's best you be in Hong Kong.
Wow.
Not in China, because they'll know everyone. They'll know the store owners, they'll know, this kind of communication.
They've got eyes.
Even though there's so many people, they'll find you.
Especially because you stand out, yeah.
And you stand out. So two of probably the youngest expats running around the city, they'll find you pretty quick. So a week later we came back, and we're nervous, we're sweating going through the border, worrying like, the way the officer's looking at us, fuck, maybe they know us, maybe he's going to call them. We get through, it's okay. And then we get back to our building, and our security guard looks very pale in the face and very almost upset. He starts off saying, "I'm sorry, I had no choice. Like, it's okay, we understand." And he's like, "But, I don't think you're going to like what you see when you go upstairs." I'm thinking, what do you mean? Like, we locked everything. And he's like, "Oh, they destroyed everything." So we went in, door was smashed down, so literally broken off the hinges. So
no way.
They've destroyed that, and the whole place was destroyed.
It's like again a movie, like when you come back and then they've tossed the apartment or whatever. Yeah,
sure. So that happened, and that was actually when we made the decision that it's time for us to move to Hong Kong.
Get out of China.
Literally get out of China, because on that same day, they must have almost known we were back, because the sisters were texting us saying, "You're lucky, you're alive, you got what you deserve, but don't ever come back to China." And we were like, okay, you know what, like,
that is fucking crazy.
Let's go to Hong Kong now. So
that's insane.
That's why we didn't last very long there. That was enough to make us leave. Like, let's put it that way. So
I would too. That is fucking crazy.
That was crazy.
So you're out of now. You're out of China. Decide to live in Hong Kong, or?
Yeah, well, Hong Kong was kind of the same plan. So we had no plan. We had saved a bit of money up from occasional work, doing training with people in China, and we started looking for jobs. So fortunately enough, we landed quite a good job with one of the gyms there, which was like a quite high-end, like, personal training gym, and just started getting paid well. Got ourselves an apartment,
which is really expensive if you're in certain parts of Hong Kong. So
I think it helped that me and my brother were kind of together.
Okay. Was it tiny? Like?
Oh man! So I think our first place, we were paying like 18,000 Hong Kong dollars a month. It was a 1-bedroom, and I had to sleep on the couch because I'm the younger brother, right? Mm-hmm. And that was 390 square feet, and we were paying 18,000 Hong Kong. So
that is tiny.
I don't know what that. If you put that to baht, where we are now, that is about 72,000 baht a month. We're paying for, I guess, something about the size of this,
like a small hotel room.
Yeah, like a studio, basically like a studio.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
In an old building. So no lift, 10 floors up, had to walk the stairs every time. Horrible. But great experience. Different, kind of still in this thrill of like being in Asia and like,
sure.
It's fun. So started working a lot, and then again, started to date Hong Kong Chinese girls. So, and that's also a little bit different because they're also a bit more westernized.
In Hong Kong?
In Hong Kong, because there's a lot of international schools there. A lot of them, we call them like ABC girls. So like American-born Chinese.
Oh, okay.
So girls that grew up in the States, went to university, and come back to Hong Kong to work.
Sure.
Because they went and got Yale degrees or whatever. So there's a little difference with those girls, I find, is that if you want to go down that road, again, it's the same thing. You got to put in work. They know that they're a valued asset. They might give it up easy, but in relation to dating, like, be prepared to pay for them, and pay for their food. Try to take care of them, and if you can't, there's probably a good chance that they're going to find someone who will.
Someone will. And in Hong Kong, to show them that you really care about them, a lot of women there, I know just from dating there, expect everything's so expensive there.
Sure.
So depending on the woman, you really can be expected to pay. I had a first date there that tried to get me to take her out for a dinner that would have been about $800 for just a first date meal. Mm-hmm. Like, that was, with alcohol, it would have been insane. I was just like, okay, we're on a different wavelength here. This is not happening. So it can be kind of crazy there.
Yeah, but you'll see it there when, especially even the local Hong Kong guys, the ones that have money, they will always be out in those restaurants spending money because they know they have to.
Yeah.
And those girls like to be seen there. They want to show off the money. They want to. And there's some very, very wealthy people in Hong Kong.
Sure.
Like extreme wealthy. Like tycoons own the land and properties, and own the subways and things like this. So, but again, you've got the other side, which are like the girls who grew up in Hong Kong that had Western friends because maybe they had friends who went to national schools, and again, they're the ones that are really happy to just have a white guy as well. But I didn't find them quite as obsessive and crazy as the as the Chinese, like actual mainland Chinese.
A little bit more stable.
A little bit more stable, a little bit more understanding, but still very proud to have you, very proud to show you off. The other thing though with the parents of Hong Kong girls is I found they were very nosy very quickly, and they wanted to kind of make sure that you were earning more money than the daughter, and they wanted to know how much you were earning.
Oh, like they'll flat out ask you?
They would ask. So my girlfriend at the time, after I met her parents, I think the first question they asked me was like, how much do you earn? No, so it was, what do you do for a living? And then what's your salary? That's how that first...
That seems so awkward for...
It was very awkward because in Western culture, our parents wouldn't do that to us.
Yeah.
You know, one, because it's rude. But for them, it's not rude. It's like, you know, it's like, because the mentality as well with Hong Kong girls, especially the older generation parents, is their parents, when they finish work, it's pretty common for them to actually come back and live with their kids.
Oh, right.
It's not like us where our parents go to retirement homes or they have their own house and we move out.
Yeah.
We're not a burden to our parents.
Yeah.
But in their culture, they really make them feel like you owe us.
Yeah.
So you're going to work, and a lot of the times actually the parents select their degrees, they select what they should do for work. It's actually quite a controlled way that they do it, which was a big eye-opener.
I remember dating a girl, I think she was in Hong Kong, and she was like 28, 29 years old, and she was still living with her parents, which is somewhat normal there, but what was weird is she was, I have to ask my mom, like she was acting like a teenager that was a minor in terms of like not making decisions as an adult for her own life. And I thought, this is so weird.
Yeah. So that's a big culture shock as well. And even my girlfriend at the time, so she ended up doing a hotel tourism degree or something. And I thought, oh great, so maybe you must want to work for a hotel, you must want to travel. And she's like, no, actually I want to be a trainer like you. Actually, she was a fitness girl, she loved working out. I said, why don't you be a trainer? And she's like, my parents said it's not a safe career, it doesn't make enough money, you need to do this. And I'm like, This is things that as a Westerner you have to kind of accept, because you cannot change it. And if you try to change it, like there's a good chance you're going to completely tear your relationship apart, because they will not change. Generally, most of the time, I shouldn't say all, but most of them will not change just in spite of disappointing their parents.
Yeah.
Because they grow up feeling like they owe their parents for paying for school or taking care of them or raising them, clothing
and one way
them.
to honor their parents is to obey their parents when their parents are trying to tell them how to be an adult and what career to have.
Even with clients who I trained over there that were quite high up businesswomen that were from Hong Kong that were working in finance or lawyers, and I'd say, oh, you happy? And they're like, I hate my job. Why do you do it? It's my dad was a lawyer. My dad was a doctor, so they have to, especially if like lawyers are doctors or finance, they will literally, there's like a 90% chance they're going to end up doing the same work their parents did.
Wow. And the work ethic, I remember in Hong Kong, is crazy. It's like 60-hour weeks seem like the norm. That's instead of, we talk about a 40-hour work week as the norm in the West, or at least in the United States.
Sure.
And it seemed like they feel like they're working a lot more than other people if they're only doing like 70 or 80 hours a week.
Sure.
But they feel like it's normal to just do 60 hours a week.
No, they 100%. No, they do. And I mean, I trained people that were working for HSBC, Morgan Stanley, and they were, especially the locals, not so much the Westerners because they were on expat contracts and things like this. But a lot of the locals would sleep in the office.
And they just stay there all throughout the week.
They'd stay there till 2, 3 in the morning. There's no point going home and then coming back for work at 8 a.m. So they would sleep under their desks. I'm not even joking.
That's crazy.
And shower in the office, and then have a spare suit at work.
No way.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just that work environment. So, and same as being a trainer. So, I mean, it was great. It was good money. I was young, but between paying rent and everything else, like even earning almost $8,000 a month, $9,000, which is a lot of money for an 18, 19-year-old. Couldn't really save.
Because everything's just so expensive.
Because by the time you're dating someone, you're going out on the weekends for food, you're paying rent, you're getting taxis to and from work, because the MRT, which is the underground train, is just so busy that you can't stand it. Like, you're literally like a sardine in a can. And if you live far away, it's 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back of getting squashed, pushed on, stood on.
Yeah.
And when you've just done 12, 13-hour workday, it's not a fun thing to be doing. So you're happy to pay a taxi to just sit in aircon, relax, put your music on. But I was getting up at 5 a.m. Had to get to work because you're training bankers and finance guys and all the ones who need to be up, get their exercise done before the stock market opens in the US, right? So these were guys that can I train at 5:30 and couldn't really say no. So yeah, I was training at 5:30, and some days I was doing 10 clients a day, some days 11.
Wow.
And it's exhausting. Day. So it's exhausting, and that was 5 days a week. Saturdays would be at least from like 7 in the morning to at least 1 or 2 p.m. And then by the time you get home, you're just like face planting on bed. But, yeah.
So did that kind of put a damper on your, hey, it's so fun to be in Asia? Because you're all of a sudden now your work-life balance is thrown off?
A little bit. I think it made me appreciate the Western work culture a little bit more. It still didn't make me want to go home. I think just because the fact that I had that yellow fever symptoms going on pretty hard. So I thought, you know what, like I'll suck it up for this, just for the sake that I prefer to be around Asian women as well. But I think, as a teenager, I also worked on school holidays. I worked for my dad's company. So I was always had a pretty good work ethic, I would say, especially for sports. Like I'm pretty disciplined with that stuff. So I wasn't afraid to say no. It doesn't mean I wasn't tired, but it wasn't enough for me to be like, you know what, I'm going to go back to Australia and just work 9 to 5 and, have weekends off and that kind of thing. So
how long then were you living in Hong Kong, and were you mostly just dating for fun, or tell me if you got into any relationships there, and how long were you there?
So Hong Kong, I was there for I think almost 5 years, so quite a long time actually, a lot longer than we had ever planned on. And I had a relationship with a local girl for about 2 years, and that was the one I was talking about with the family asking questions, things like this. We broke up, and then I did about maybe 18 months of single life there, and just like doing what I should have been doing for the last few years basically, and just trying to enjoy myself, less stress, having fun, meeting numerous amounts of girls weekly, going on different dates, doing different things, just not having the stress as being in a relationship with someone that young and that intense. But I ended up in another relationship, actually this time with a Thai woman. So this is how...
Still in Hong Kong though?
Still in Hong Kong.
Okay. So wait, how old are you at this point when you started that relationship?
I was 21.
Okay.
21.
How did you guys meet in Hong Kong? How did you meet a Thai woman in Hong Kong?
So I started working for this other gym that I actually started with like clients of mine who were investors. So they hired me to be a manager, and there was 2 floors. So one floor was a personal training floor. Floor below us was a yoga studio. Okay. And she ended up being one of the freelance staff for the yoga studio. Oh, okay.
So she's a yoga instructor.
Yeah. So a lot older though. So she was 39 when I met her.
And you were?
I was 21. So that was about 18, almost actually 17 and a half, but about 18 years.
Which is the opposite of what everyone thinks about what happens when you date in Asia. A lot of people come here to date younger, right?
So
you're dating
much older.
17, 18 years older.
She looked great. She was fit. We had the same kind of vibe. She's healthy.
Yeah.
She was just going through a separation with her husband, who was actually like 16, 17 years older than her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's quite the swing for her.
Quite the swing for her. We started off just as an agreement where we actually had to train the yoga staff they would give us. So we were learning about each other's kind of skill set, this kind of thing. One thing led to another. We got involved. And then I remember my 22nd birthday was coming up, and she wanted to take me to Phuket for my birthday.
Here in Thailand, beach city, yeah.
Beautiful city, beautiful town, so beachy town, similar to like Gold Coast, great, beautiful water. Anyway, so we were going on my birthday, and I remember holding my passport lining up for the plane, and I dropped it, and I didn't realize in time. She picked it up, and it happened to open right on the on my photo page, which has your birthday.
So at this point, you had told her, how old did she think you were before she found your passport?
She thought I was 27 when we met. So I actually told a little bit of a lie when we met, because first thing you do, especially when you met an Asian woman, is you don't want them to think you're young and immature, and even though your vibe is not like that, you're working and have a good job and things, but they're very crucial to like your age. And generally for Asian women, as you said, they will date older men. It's quite common here. they prefer to almost have someone take care of them, someone who's in a career base, all that kind of stuff.
Got more experience.
Yeah, exactly.
So more stable money-wise or whatever.
She opened the page and she started counting numbers on her fingers, which mean that she realized how young I was. So it was like 94, and she just looked at me and was like, "How old are you?" And like her face just changed, and I was like,
"This is in the airport."
Yeah, this is literally at the boarding gate as we're handing the passports in.
Wow.
And I said, "I'm 21," and she's just like, "Why did you lie to me?" And I'm just like, "Thought you wouldn't, I thought it would bother you. I didn't want to say I was 21 because you're older, and and obviously I'm attracted to you, and I like you, and this kind of thing." So for the whole flight, she didn't say a word, not a word, and I was like, picking up on the vibe that, okay, this is going to be a terrible holiday. We're going to be done, for this for sure. So I tried to make it out. I apologized to her. By the time we got to Phuket, though, everything was fine. She was like,
she chilled out a little.
She chilled out. She was like, you know what, whatever. I'll just go with it. Don't. If there's anything else you want to tell me now, because she was already thinking, okay, you've lied about that. What's next? Anyway, so we had a great time. We went back to Hong Kong, and then I remember that trip coming back. Going to Phuket and thinking, you know what, like I think I'm ready to get out of Hong Kong now. I think I want to get back to a beachy kind of vibe. I'm sick of this kind of intense work environment, because I arrived back in Hong Kong and I just didn't feel happy. I knew that Monday was coming. I knew it was like 10 clients again, and I was going to be exhausted. I'd just been laying on the beach, drinking and exercising, and like having a great time riding bikes around, which is something you just don't do.
I love how a change of scenery, going on vacation, breaking up whatever normal pattern of work-life balance that you normally have, can sometimes do that. Give you an epiphany about where you're at in life and when it's time to change, make a change.
Yeah, and I'm pretty like, as soon as I feel that, and that's what I had with Australia, I'm ready to try what's next, because I did Australia, China, Hong Kong. I was like, okay. I mean, China was 6-7 months. Hong Kong was almost 5 years.
Wow.
But from that day where I didn't feel right, I think it was like another year or so before I actually left Hong Kong. But I was already thinking, okay, whatever. I don't want to be here. So I remember about 2 months later, my now ex-girlfriend, so the Thai woman I'm talking about, she said, "Oh, next time I want to take you to Hua Hin." So Hua Hin is like another beach town, smaller than Phuket. But
also here in Thailand.
Also in Thailand, about 3 hours south drive of Bangkok.
Okay.
So Phuket's right down the bottom. Not right down the bottom, but in the Andaman Sea, which is about, I think, 800 kilometers from Bangkok. And Hua Hin is about 190, 200 kilometers from Bangkok.
Okay.
So about a quarter of the way, I guess. So I said, sure. We flew to Hua Hin. And I remember getting there and just thinking, oh my God, this is even quieter than Phuket. It's not as touristy. There was a lot of older, what we call Farangs, which is Westerners in Thai. And I thought, this is great. This is like reminding me of home and being relaxed, and like there's not a lot of young people. So again, the attention was like being thrown at you. Probably not the best idea when you have an older, mature girlfriend who's trying to settle down with you. So again, I remember doing that one trip. We were there for 3 or 4 days. Came back to Hong Kong, and I remember just feeling so upset, and just like, I just did not want to be here anymore. And I remember looking at her and saying, "Hey, I'm done. I'm gonna quit my job, and I'm gonna move to Hua Hin."
Yeah.
And here's a mature woman giving me, an ultimatum, going, "Okay, so do you have a job there? Do you have somewhere to live?"
She's trying to tell you.
Yeah. So
you have no business thinking about just going there without a plan.
She was supportive, but this was, I think, the good thing about dating someone a bit older was that she was kind of like making me understand the consequences. And she's like, "You have a job right now. You have an apartment. You're earning money. You're going to just give all that up. I don't say don't do it, but plan it better." And I was like, the stubborn 22-year-old going, "Nah, you know what? When I want to do something, I want to do it. If you don't want to come, I understand. Like, you've got a son, you're dealing with the divorce still.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want you to leave your son, but I'm going to go."
So at this point, you've been dating her how long?
I think that was just over a year at that point.
Okay.
Just over a year. So that's when I basically, within that month, I quit my job, handed in my resignation, told my landlord I was leaving, sold everything I had, furniture, saved up as much money as I could, which is a lot more than I came to Asia with. And booked my flight. She came with me to move there, and she stayed for a month. But she made it clear that she couldn't just come because her son, the divorce, she was a married woman, still
trying to get through the divorce,
which is not as simple as a 22-year-old kind of de facto guy in a relationship just going, I'm going to move countries. Like, it's but I said to her, hey, look, I understand if you don't want to do it officially. I understand your son. And that after that trip, she came home and she called me and she's like, I want to do it. And I said, are you sure? And she did. So she started.
So she moved with you to Thailand?
Not straight away. So I spent about 6 months there by myself.
Oh, okay.
And then she was coming back and forward almost every second weekend.
Oh,
it's only a 2-hour flight from Bangkok to Hong Kong. So she did it. She sold all her stuff. She got whatever she didn't sell. She arranged with her husband to ship over to Thailand. I was living in her condo that she owned in Hua Hin. And she moved there. We even moved dogs over with us, so her dogs as well.
That's a big deal. This is a big commitment.
So this was like going into marriage almost, basically.
Yeah.
And so we kind of committed. We worked there. We ended up opening up her own business actually in Hua Hin. And the relationship lasted for 5 years.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
wow. So that was your longest relationship.
Yeah,
right?
that was my longest relationship from almost 22 till 20, almost 27. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
so we actually recently broke up. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and she moved back to Hong Kong to be with her son, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was, what caused it to not work out? What was the impetus for the breakup?
I'd have to be honest and say it's probably more my fault than her fault. And that's, not to be a bit silly with that, but for sure, I mean, when you're a young...
That's like a Seinfeld. It's me. It's not you.
It's not you. It's me. It's not you. It's me. Okay, so I'd say it went both ways in some aspects, but for sure, like, when you're in your 20s and you've been on this journey through Asia, and each country is a little bit different in some way. And then when I arrived in Thailand, same thing. They adore you. They love Westerners. They prefer to be with a Westerner. They make you feel good. They make you feel special. And when you're dating someone a lot older, even though she looks great, in the back of my head, I think I was always thinking, like, I think that stubbornness of me was like, I shouldn't do this to her. But I do love her and I want to be with her. But there's still that little demon in my head that's like, enjoy your life, have fun, do things. So unfortunately, I kind of did a few naughty things and got in trouble, got caught out. And you know what? Mad respect to her because she actually stayed with me through it.
Tried to work through it for a while.
Tried to work through it. I went through kind of phases, I guess, of being good, not being so good. And sucks for her. I can understand now when I look back at it and say, hey, but you know what? We still talk. We're still friends. I've moved on. She's moved on. She's happy. I'm happy. We're happier to not be together.
That's good.
She's happy with her son again. I learned a lot from her. I learned a lot about Thai women as well from her. They're very family oriented as well.
Sure.
And when they want something, they really will commit.
100%.
For me anyway, I found they want their whole life to be about you.
Wow.
I mean, this woman literally helped me set up a business, for my career. She didn't even think about her career. It was like, I want to do what I can to keep you here long term because I couldn't find a job at the time, and that's how the whole relationship just turned into like business together, living together, dogs.
Wow.
Quite intense.
That is. That's
quite intense.
Especially again in your early 20s.
Early 20s. So yeah, it ended in my mistakes, some of her over controlling aspects, but I realize now that was more her way of keeping me. Was like, let me take this away from you because if I do, then maybe you'll want me again. And like, which is toxic. It became quite toxic in the end. So I think the fact that we split that up was probably for the best. So now I'm back dating young Thai women again. So, and I think now that I've been through enough that it's like, okay, maybe it's time to stop lying to women. And because actually it comes back to like, even on the dating side of things since then, like a few girls that almost like karma, where I've kind of been interested in them and then I found out they're actually messing around, fucking around with other guys and lying to me, and I'm like, you know what, that's probably my karma for like the shit that I was doing. So I actually have a girlfriend again now. So.
And so how did you guys meet? And this is here in Bangkok, right?
Yeah, so we met in Bangkok. We've been together for like 3 months now. Yeah, so not that long, still fresh.
Okay.
But again, kind of already living together. She stays with me. She actually works in a gym as well, not in
Oh,
my
okay.
gym, but she works in a gym, so we've got the same vibe. We're the same age,
Oh, okay.
so that's nice. It's a different feeling. And again, like, she's a great looking woman, she's younger. It's little things like that don't sit in my head now, where
Yeah.
we're on the same wavelengths. Both of us don't, I mean, it's early days. I'm not going to say anything about what the plan is for us, but
Sure.
I like her a lot. I could see us being together,
Nice.
for a long time. I pick up on that pretty quick now. For my, hey, if I'm not going to interest in you, I will cut it. I will cut it. But for her, we've already I ride my bike with her to Hua Hin every now and then. Actually, this weekend I'm
From
flying.
Bangkok.
Yeah, I've done that.
So
yeah.
it's 300 something kilos.
About 200 k's. Yeah, about 200 k's. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's fun. I mean,
That's
I love big bike. It's a dangerous journey. But
I was going to say, because I was talking to somebody yesterday about, like, I had this wild idea of leaving, renting a motorbike, like a moped, and riding. I wanted to see if, like, I could take a 3 or a 4 or a 5 day trek from Bangkok and get all the way down to Phuket.
Sure.
And people are like, that's crazy. You would never want to do that. But you're riding a pedal bike. You're pedaling a bike, right?
No. So I ride a big bike. I got a Ducati here. Yeah.
Oh, when you said a bike, I thought you were talking about a road bike, like getting exercise, because you're all into fitness and stuff.
No.
Okay.
No,
like a real bike.
Yeah, so a proper big bike.
Ducati, nice.
Yeah,
very
so
nice.
I ride a Ducati, so it's also good for the women here.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
If you get a big bike in Thailand, that's a pretty popular thing.
Sets you
well.
apart from all the mopeds, huh?
You become a bit of a target pretty quick. So
really, that's interesting. Okay, that's good pro tip
for
other guys
I
here.
think Thai girls definitely more so than Hong Kong and China. They like that kind of bad boy vibe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you don't.
So
have
the tats also add to that.
Yeah. So all this actually came in Thailand.
Oh yeah.
And when that's actually, it's funny enough. One thing I noticed when I started to get more tattoos is you start to get attention from different kind of girls. So what I mean by that is...
And that's a good thing, or was that a bad thing, or a little both? A little bit of mixed
bag? A little bit of both, because a lot of them were curious, like, okay, young, what we call farang here, young farang, tattoos, good job, big bike, what are you doing in Thailand? They're kind of like thinking you're up to no good. You're a naughty.
You're probably just here playing.
You're probably here playing. You're having fun. You can kind of do what you want. You can get girls. They don't think you're serious. But you attract like these kind of really good-looking girls as well, especially, and for me in particular, I like the tan Thai girls. I don't like I'm not into the real pale skin thing.
Sure.
Because being from the Gold Coast, I'm sure the same with you, being from
Southern California.
You've got the tan girls on the beach, and your eyes are just kind of shifted on there.
For sure. But which is so opposite of what they think of themselves here. I've seen, I don't know if you've ever seen this in dating apps here, not only in Thailand, but in other countries in Asia, where a woman will actually apologize in her profile on Tinder or on Bumble or something. Say, oh, sorry, I'm a tan girl or something like that.
If you don't don't speak to me.
Yeah, and I'm like, what are you talking about? To me, that's beautiful. I love it. Yeah.
I love it. Everyone's got their preference. For me personally, the more tan you are, the more you like to go to the beach.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. So, it's funny. But again, if they're really good looking and they want to be models and things, if you ever check the ads for like perfumes or car ads or any of the top models here, none of them are tan.
Yeah,
they won't physically get contracts or work just because they're too dark. Just
because of the way the culture here sees that.
They really see it as wealth. They don't see tanned or dark skin as being presentable.
Wow.
Which is still, I think, a very backwards kind of...
It's still very racist here.
I mean, absolutely, it's racist,
That's
for
crazy.
sure.
That's crazy.
But it was the same in China. China was the same. If you're a dark Chinese girl, they thought you were a farmer, and actually, a bit of some of their mentality is that you must have done something wrong in the past life.
Wow.
Yeah, really kind of like deep thoughting. You're like, whoa, like...
That's crazy.
So in different parts of Thailand, you get different skin-colored girls. So generally, I found the more southern you go near the beaches, because Phuket, things like this, Koh Samui, you've got the island girls. The girls are out in the sun surfing, and they're gorgeous. They're like, tan, great bodies, lovely, beautiful smiles. But
you're making me want to get down to Phuket now.
I think I'm starting to tease a few people around here, but it is, yeah. So you definitely get that vibe. So definitely the more beachy towns you go, you get the different people. But being in Bangkok, you also get the girls who come here for work. So they'll come from Isan, which is like northeast Thailand, or they'll come from southern when it's like low season, so they need to do more work. So yeah, Bangkok, you've got the whole variety of different kind of girls.
Have you experienced, so in your single days in Thailand, do you feel like there's or maybe this is just me, but my experience has been that it's pretty different dating and of course I'm in a different age range and everything, but my dating experience in Bangkok versus anywhere else in Thailand has been pretty different. And for me, just it's I do okay in Bangkok, but I do way better outside of Bangkok anywhere else in Thailand.
Sure, I think because as you know, in Bangkok it's a more densely populated city, and again there's still that aspect of the really good-looking girls. It's the same thing I've found in all three countries in Asia. Is actually like if you want those ones, you're gonna have to pay. They know that they're beautiful. They know that they can get any guy they want, and if you don't really take care of them, like you could be the sweetest person to them and do all that, and this is from experience with friends of mine that I have who are great guys who have been in relationships, and they've left for someone who has more money.
Yeah. So it is. That's the common denominator, I think, almost anywhere, right?
It is.
It is going to come down to they're going to want to exchange their beauty while they're young,
and they can.
Someone with.
And I think in today's society,
with
with things like these apps and social media, they're able to broadcast themselves for free. And there's literally guys from around the world who will send them money, fly them to different places. Wow. And I think for a young girl who's never left Thailand, if they're from a poor family, like there's a good chance that it's not even the fact that they want to hurt you.
No, yeah.
Or like, that they're a bad person, but they're actually thinking about their family, and they're like, you know what? Like,
it's a practical issue.
It's a really practical issue. You'll get. Not all of them like that. You'll get some who are just completely upfront. They don't reply to these guys. They block them. But if your girl is specifically in the kind of work field, like a model or someone who's like a social media influencer, be prepared for guys to harass them, send them things
from all over the world,
from not just in Thailand, but Europe, Australia, anywhere. And when
it's crazy.
It's crazy. And I mean,
But I think when you're talking like that, we're talking about the 9s and 10s. We're not talking about 7s and 8s that are just. Which 7s and 8s here are there's so many beautiful women that may not be like supermodel, ridiculously gorgeous 9s and 10s, but they're still just
great,
just crazy beautiful.
Yeah, and I agree. 7, 8 here is a 9 in Australia. 9.5, almost a 10, which is someone who you want to. If you get that in Australia, you want to tie them down.
Yeah.
You don't want nobody else to have them.
But it's hard to feel that way here because they're all over. There's so many 7s and 8s,
I always have this saying that like every traffic light you fall in love. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Literally every traffic light you fall in love almost. So if you think that your heart's going to be broken, it'll be broken for a couple hours, and then you'll be okay. You'll be okay. You'll get over things pretty quick here. So
awesome. One thing I've noticed. My skin gets all oily and greasy here, but I think it happens more to me because I'm from one of the driest areas in the world. Like Salt Lake City, Utah is a desert climate, and it's just humidity wise, it's one of the driest.
Highest altitude in the US.
It's pretty well. I don't know if it's highest, but I mean, because you got certain places in Colorado, but like it's one of the higher altitude metropolitan areas in the United States. We're sitting at and I just learned to fly airplanes, and so the airfield that I fly out of in West Jordan, Utah, near Salt Lake City, Utah, is like 4,600 feet above sea level, just before we take off. So anyway, so it's super dry for me, and then I think my skin overcompensates here, and I'm getting all oily with the humidity or something. So
no, it's true. I mean, Asia, especially Southeast Asia, the pollution is not a very. I mean, how do I say it? Sorry, it's a huge adjustment. Because you feel it when you breathe. Like even me when I'm riding the bike to work, I get stuck in traffic some days, and there's buses in front of me with black smoke hitting me in the face. Yeah. And I'll feel it, like it'll make my eyes go a bit dark, and I'll get home and I'll just feel oily.
It's like caked onto you,
Caked on. So there's also that side of being in densely populated cities like Bangkok and things like that you really have to accept that, and it ain't going to change anytime soon. So Hong Kong was the same. China was worse. Bangkok's pretty bad, but I think the pollution's not enough for me to want to leave. Let's put it that way.
So you're not itching to get back to a beach city right now?
Not really. The good thing is, like, even this weekend, I'm actually, like, me and the girlfriend are flying down to Phuket for the weekend, so it's an hour flight.
Nice. And it's like $30-$40 or something like that, one way, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's so cheap.
And right now is a great time because of COVID for traveling, so we got a
Yeah.
hotel for, I think, $50 for 3 nights.
Nice. That's
so
crazy.
it's like, we go to the beach, we go to a pool party down there, have a bit of fun, and then I'll come back to work Monday.
Nice.
So
Very
sweet.
nice.
Yeah,
I actually might bump into you. I might go down there. One thing I feel is common for women that they want to know about men, and I think for women that watch this, that live in any Asian country, that are interested in dating a Western man, women everywhere want a man that, you know, is going to show them that he cares about them.
Yeah, for
He's
sure.
going to show his effort, like show some kind of. So, do you have any kind of a cool story? If you think about any relationship or when you were into some girl, what's a cool way that you've shown effort or shown her that you're into her?
That's a good question. I think so. I mean, obviously, I've tried to learn in the past from the things I've done wrong, and obviously cheating, flirting, that kind of thing is not acceptable in committed relationships. Obviously,
For sure.
Everyone makes mistakes and that kind of stuff. But I think the biggest thing would be, like, I've learned to give attention to women, but not be obsessive, and trust them as well, because I think the moment you cause that insecurity that you're checking on them or they're checking on you, you've got this constant battle in your relationship. So I think respect them, give everybody trust, even if you've got bad experiences in life. Like, I've learned with every girl I've met since I've been single until I had a new girlfriend, you know, like my girl goes clubbing, she does all that things, and she's a model, she has sexy photos online. I'm like, you know what? You were like this when I met you, and I can't come in and expect you to change. Either I'm going to accept that, or just don't. Like, we can't be together.
So that's a mature approach.
And that's a mature approach. So the way I treat her is I don't give her a hard time. Yeah, she goes out without me sometimes, but she goes with her girlfriends. Do I bother her? No, I don't harass her. I tell her have a great night. She comes home after when she's finished every night. Yeah, she's drunk, but I've had to shift my mentality and think, you know what, I'm here to actually work as well. I've got a career, I've got a good job here. I can't risk that and put all my energy into my emotions like I would have when I was younger.
The only way you would act differently would be to try to prevent future pain, try and prevent
Yeah,
risk or lower your
absolutely.
risk. But you're risking right now
Sure.
to show her that you love her, care about her, trust her.
I think that's why, you know, I mean, yes, she's a fit girl, and we go out sometimes, don't get me wrong. Like, when I feel like it, I also go out with her.
Sure.
And I can see with that vibe, like, her attention's on me the whole time. Guys are trying to get her attention, she's telling them to F off, you know, so that I can respect about her. I think you pick up, like, if she was flirting and disappearing to
You
the
would
toilets,
pick it up, especially after she's
especially drunk. So I'm like, you know what, like, I trust her, and I think it's important to give everybody trust until there's a reason for you not to trust them. So
that's huge.
we get along great. She does come home every night. And the thing is, she communicates with me. She doesn't lie. So, and that I like. And then because of the good thing about social media is you can check stories and see where they actually are. So she's not stupid. I'm not stupid. If she changes locations or she's going somewhere else, she sends me a message and say, hey, I'm leaving. We're going here. Because she kind of knows that, you know, I'm for sure I'd scroll through Instagram stories when I'm laying in bed or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is what I've found with, like, my girlfriend now is giving her attention, but not making her feel like she can't live her life the way she wants to live it. And I think that goes both ways. So
yeah, you want that
give
same
them
trust
affection,
from her.
love them, and at the same time, like, she understands that I'm a young foreigner, and it's quite easy for me to also go out and find another one like her. Like, not to be a dick or anything, but that's that's kind of how
the reality
it is.
of where we're at.
So you're kind of on this even playing field, where you know you're a good-looking guy. She's a great-looking woman. People see you together. They tell you you're a good-looking couple. So I think, I mean, for me, I'm not a big guy on, like, buying gifts and things like this. I'm more about, you know, going on holidays, creating memories. That's my kind of vibe. Going on my big bike, going to mountains, and, like, taking photos. So
that's cool.
I think with her, like, can get what she wants. She could have a guy pay for all her shit. She could be flown around the world if she wanted to. But I'm trying to show her a different side of life. I think, I mean, I'm not a wealthy person. I'm doing okay for my age, but, you know, I can't put you on first class tickets. I can't put you in the Intercontinental. But I'll show you the little things that you miss. So, like, you know, the things you don't see in the big world that when you have too much money, right? So taking the bike to Hua-Hin or like creating these kind of like fun experiences that I think some people are not used to.
That's cool.
And I think she appreciates that. She likes that a lot. She contributes, which I like. She probably doesn't have to, but she doesn't earn as much as I do. She still pays for things. I mean, I don't make her pay rent or anything.
But she's not just sitting around all day, just expecting you to just...
And I mean, the first month we met, she was just doing her modeling thing. It wasn't a job. I was at work all day, and she was getting a little bothered. Not bothered at me, but bothered herself that I'm at work from 1 p.m. till 10 p.m. most nights, and we only have the morning together all the weekend.
Yeah.
So she came to me and was like, I need to get a job. And I was like, up to you. I think it's good because it'll keep you busy. And she did. She went out, found a job, and she's working in a gym now. So I was like,
nice.
good for you.
Nice. So obviously you guys have only been together 3 months.
Yeah.
So don't even answer this question in terms of necessarily you and your current girlfriend, right? But just long-term plans. Like, do you see yourself staying in Thailand? Do you see yourself having children, marriage, children? Are those things in your future?
So I think kids has always been a mentality for me that I don't want to plan it. I've never planned my life. I've kind of been this guy who's been going with the flow, and things have kind of worked out all right. I put it this way: I don't think it would kill me if I didn't have kids, but if I had them, I would take it as a blessing, obviously, because they're your children. But I mean, it's not a plan of mine. It was never as a kid that I can't wait to get married, have a family. That's kind of why I left Australia. Going back to that is that whole family aspect: settle down, get a mortgage, have debt, live your family life very young. And all my mates, like 90% of my friends back home,
went right into that
either
life.
Married, or they've got kids already, or they've got mortgages. And to be honest, I don't see them very happy. They don't look very happy to me. So I think they're happy, but they're not happy. And I think if they traveled here or traveled to come visit me or Asia, they would be like, oh shit. Oh shit. I made
introduces them to a whole different life.
Yeah, it's a different life. And so for me, I think for Thailand, so again, that's the same with every other country. I think I'll do it for as long. I'm sure there'll be a point in the future where I just want to get out again. But until then, like, I plan to be here as long as I can. I think, to be honest, so far Bangkok's my favorite city that I've lived.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What's a gotcha, or what's a challenge? One of the hardest things about dating over here in Thailand?
Okay, so dating in Thailand, the culture is also very sensitive as well. And definitely I would say that you have to be careful with things like what is their opinion and the way they're raised, because actually, like, the education that they receive is very like, don't think outside the box. So sometimes the way they respond to things, or like we have Western humor, right? And if they don't understand Western humor, like, you can make a joke about something directed at them, they take it very seriously and they're actually offended by it.
Wow.
And that can get quite uncomfortable pretty quick. That's what I found anyway, in that you have to kind of explain yourself, but because you're outside the box, their mentality's not there. And if they aren't Thai women that have been exposed so much like Western culture, they're still very Thai culture. They're very conservatives in some ways. So you have to. That was a big experience. Was like sometimes being careful what you say to certain people. But again, you meet the Thai women who have dated other foreigners. They've probably lived overseas, or they studied at a good university as well.
Less easily offended, maybe.
Less easily offended. Joke around a bit more, and also like don't really care about their government and this kind of stuff. So there's no real in between. They're either like this side or that side. There's not really like an in between. They're like either hate that or they love that. So
interesting.
That's quite interesting. I think with Thai women as well is they get very jealous. Yeah.
So that's culturally a thing, maybe. That comes easier to them, huh?
Yeah, it definitely comes easier to them. So like, yes, they can be obsessive, but the jealousy, and the one thing I found about Thai women, and I apologize to any Thai women that might view this. This is nothing like directed in a bad way, but
no, we're here because we love Thai women.
We love Thai women. I love Thai women. So they can get jealous, and in that sense, they can also switch. They can get crazy. And in some cases, some of them get quite violent. quite violent as well, screaming, throwing things.
You're giving me flashbacks to a crazy trip I had on a date
Yeah.
in Vietnam, but that's for another.
So, but a jealousy thing, and even when, you know, for instance, one thing you need to remember here is like, if you go near like a nightlife area with your girlfriend, those girls do not care that you have a girlfriend. Like, they will still say hello.
The working girls that are
the working girls
around the nightlife.
I mean, for me personally, I don't spend a lot of time in those areas because it's not my scene. Love a drink, love going to the bars, but I won't go to like the girly bars and things like this.
Yeah.
And I certainly wouldn't take my girlfriend there.
Sure.
But again, like, they know themselves that other Thai women do not care that you have a Thai girlfriend. Like, if they want something, they will make it clear.
Wow.
That they want something. So, and if you give in to that, like, be prepared for the consequences that they come in with that. So I learned this from my ex. That was like, don't even try and look at them. Just ignore. Hold her hand. Make her feel like she's okay. She's yours, and like everything's okay. But don't let go and try to drift off your attention, because you'll be reminded who you're with pretty quickly.
That could get bad fast. Interesting.
But I guess at the same time, like, if we reverse the roles, like if I took my girl to Australia, oh my god, like, it would be a problem.
Yeah.
Not that I'd be worried like I was going to lose her, but I know that my mates and other good-looking dudes in Australia who pretty much look just like me or even better, whatever, you know, they're going to see this pretty tan Thai girl and think, well, I want to eat that up, right? So sometimes you got to reverse the roles and think, oh, okay, I understand. So we're like a trophy here for them.
Yep.
They'd be a trophy for us back home.
For sure, because
white women are not going to like to see them with their men on the beach looking better than them. You know, they age better. I find Thai women as well, they age really well.
You know, and I know it may not be politically correct to say, but it's a thing. It's just thing, man. It's like, so real. I've had an exercise every once in a while where I'll take a dating app like Bumble or Tinder or something like that on my phone while I'm sitting in the United States among friends of mine, single guys. And I'll cover the age. And I'll hold it up and I'll go, guess how old this woman from Thailand is? And they'll go, 24, 26, whatever. And I'll be 42, 37, 38, whatever. Like, they cannot believe how they age. So it's facts.
It's facts. Like, I don't know what it is, because even the ones that don't really take that much care of them, they just, you know, genetics. I don't know what it is.
One other thing I want to bring up. Tell me if you've experienced this. Everyone says, I've heard a lot of people say, well, they stay so fit because they just have such healthy lifestyles, they eat so well. And yes, I think for the most part that's true, but I've dated a number of women in Thailand and Vietnam and other Asian countries where they didn't eat well. They ate like shit.
They don't eat well at all.
And they look like amazing, and they don't ever put weight on. So it's not all how they eat, it's not all lifestyle. Some of it is just a hashtag blessed. It's genes.
I mean, not even to like kind of flatter my girlfriend too much, but like, she eats absolute crap. Like, and like, if she ever sees this, like, you know it because you do. But she's fit. She doesn't gain weight.
It just doesn't happen.
And she still has like abs and constantly looks amazing. And like, and yes, she works out, but some days she doesn't work out for like 3-4 days, or does occasional things. Not the way I work out and like track my diet and do these kind of things. She just stays lean and stays good. And it was the same with my ex, who was in her 40s. Yeah. You know, she would eat shit, and she would still look great. And I'm like, what? I don't understand.
It's
like,
crazy.
I don't know if it's, I don't know how to explain it. I just don't know how to explain
it. It's genetics, dude. It has to be genetics.
Whereas like most white guys or white women, when they start eating shit or drinking too much, especially
so
beer,
fast.
like, man, like in a month you're like, okay, this is a problem.
For sure.
You know, but like, I mean, if we go out, my girl will drink more than I do.
That's crazy.
And in the morning she like doesn't feel that hungover.
Oh,
like,
even that, huh?
When I'm hungover, I'm like, don't even open the blinds. Like, I can't see properly, right? Maybe it's, you know, being healthier and all that kind of stuff, but
wow.
She's like up, she's ready to go. And it's like,
that's
Jesus
crazy.
Christ.
That's
like,
crazy.
Yeah, so I mean that's a big shock as well. Is you would think, you know, oh, they eat a lot of vegetable. Yeah, that's true. But if you see the shit they put in their vegetables and the sauces they put in their food, like, everything has to be sweet.
Yeah.
It's very common. Even like fruit juices, which is already sugar anyway, they will put extra syrup in their watermelon shakes. They need sugar in their spicy food. They need like everything. Everywhere you order, will have sugar in it. Even your fried rice, I've seen them put like 2 tablespoons of white sugar in my fried rice, and I'm like, whoa. That's why it tastes so good. But you have to learn, if you don't want that, like you got to learn how to speak, tell them not to put that in. But
interesting.
Yeah, they get away with eating basically whatever they want.
They really do. Crazy travel story, like not related to dating, just travel adventure, anything crazy or fun or cool that you've done anywhere in Asia?
Actually, I'd say the best travel I did was in China. So one of the things I did there with my brother is we bought a train ticket from Shenzhen and just went on a train to different provinces and cities of China.
Oh, cool.
And just like, wow, every city was like different, weirder. And actually it's funny because some of the different cities you go to, they actually speak a different dialect of Chinese, and they can't speak to other provinces. So just as you think you're getting the hang of understanding some things, you go to another big town and you're like, they speak completely different. You're like, that was cool because that was like no plan again. Don't even know how to pronounce some of the names. But just seeing different kind of food, different kind of buildings, different culture, this kind of stuff. I'd say that was the best travel experience I did, was just actually, and that was the best way to do China, was get on the train. Get on the train, get on buses, don't plan it, just follow maps.
I love going without a plan like that.
Go without a plan, because most of the time I found when I plan trips, you're trying to do so much and like be here on this time and schedule this, like sometimes we missed trains and we had to stay an extra night, and like it's fine, but when you didn't plan, it was less stressful, more fun, going to random bars like with random Chinese people who you're never going to see again.
That's awesome.
I'd say that was the best. And then the other one here would have been, I've done a bike ride, so I actually did a bike ride from Phuket all the way up to what's called like Mount Putterberg, or I'm saying it wrong for sure, but it's up north part of Thailand. It's one of the highest mountains in
so you rode your Ducati from the south part of Thailand
so
to pretty much the north?
Not in one day, I did it over a 3-day trip to get there.
So it's not impossible to do what I want to do? No,
not at all. I mean, actually, again, with Thailand, I think the best way to get around is transport, either car or bike. Yeah, for sure. Because it's all the little things you miss when you're flying. You go to different towns.
I want to see little towns, villages,
temples, different mountains, like, just the scenery, the forest, this kind of thing, the locals. Some locals you go see in different parts of Thailand as well.
But it's not like AAA's coming to rescue you if you get a flat tire out in the middle of nowhere either.
Yeah,
so there's risk.
There's some risk involved. It's important to have the emergency numbers, so get that sorted before you go. It's the same number.
But I mean, when you're out in the middle of nowhere in between little villages, are you getting cell reception out there?
Sometimes no. Yeah. Sometimes no. So
it could get sketchy.
Yeah. So actually, the important thing is, if you're riding a bike, stay on the main roads. And don't go too far from the main road, because the deeper you can kind of go into the jungle, the less signal you're going to get. And if you get a flat tire, and there's a good chance people out there don't speak English, it's not uncomfortable, but it can be quite challenging for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if your phone dies or you don't know anyone here. You got to trust generally the locals have always been great. But I think if you're new here, it can be quite nerve-wracking, because most of those towns don't have much electricity and light. So if you get stuck at night, there's not really motels in those little provinces and things like this. So yeah, don't ride at night. I always do the trips. I'll start early before it gets too hot. Stop for lunch, and then I'll be done. Always plan that part. Find a motel or a hotel to stay by at least like 4 or 5 in the afternoon.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think one of the main reasons in the world, anywhere in the world, why a lot of people are staying single and not finding healthy relationships with people that are kind of like, relatively equal's not the right word, but like the kind of people that they should be able to attract and be in relationships with, is because there's too many signals going on that give, especially women, if they're on a dating app, they're going to get tons of attention, and 90% of it's going to be guys just trying to sleep with them. And so they think, oh, look at all this attention, I must be a 9 or a 10.
Yeah.
So I got to wait for a Nick. I got to wait for the young guy that's fit, that's that's the farang, that has money and has all these things. And yet, if they realize that most of the guys that are giving them these likes or liking all their Instagram photos or whatever just want to sleep with them, and that the guys that would actually consider them for a relationship are way fewer. So maybe they're actually a 6 or a 7 or something like that. So anyway, I have this whole system because I want to help people get a better assessment of the value they bring
Sure.
Not what you value about yourself, but what women would value about you, and then vice versa. What do we as men, what are the things we really are looking for at the beginning, with a woman? Like, not later. Later, when we're thinking about settling into a relationship,
Sure.
personality and her character, her integrity, all these other things are going to come into play. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning, if you're at a party, you don't know whether somebody has a good personality.
Sure.
You see what you see, and you're going to spend your time going over and talking to whoever you're attracted to. We're going to ask Nick to rate himself or rank himself with our Dating in Asia ranking system here. So the first ranking, and this is looking at Nick from women's perspective, the things that women tend to typically care about. Obviously, some women are going to give more weight or value to certain things, but one of the biggest things most women care about is a man's ability to earn. Is he wealthy, or does he have a good earning power? Is he able to be a good provider? Even if they're not thinking that they're going to marry this guy and have kids with him, that's just important. It's a status thing. So rank yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. And when you do these rankings, I want you to try and do them as if you're living in Australia, dating in Australia. So compare yourself to men in Australia on a scale from 1 to 10 in terms of just money. Yeah. If you were living in Australia, doing what you do, and earning Australian money to do it there, that's the more fair.
Let's say probably a 4.
Out of 10? 10?
4 out of 10.
10 being like a multi-millionaire, and 0 being, or 1 being like, flat broke, no job, no money, more debt than...
Yeah, so probably about
I think you're being hard on yourself, because...
No, that's realistic, because cost of living is so high there. Earn good money, but... for I think my position in my career, even though I've got quite a lot of experience now, I'm still not in my 30s and at that next level.
Yeah. So, which is actually, though, studies and stats and everything, any country, show that men, once they're between more like 35 and 50, 52, that's when they really start to hit their stride. If they're chasing that. And some people choose, look, I'm going to do what I love and I'm going to stay fit. And I mean, you said earlier, you talked about you see all your mates back in Australia doing kind of the common, have a life, have a mortgage, have a regular career. They're miserable. I've experienced all that. I've already gone through a divorce. I went down that path. I know. I mean, the idea of having some kind of a job where I could do something I love that keeps me fit and just forget chasing money for a while and just live a really peaceful, good work-life balance in a beautiful beach city, that sounds fantastic to me. Yeah. But anyway, all right, so a lot of women care about money. You gave yourself a 4. I think that's a little harsh on yourself, but maybe you're being a little humble. But I think, okay, so the next category, we're combining 2 things, and this again is a little experimental. We're just early on with this system, but combining 2 things, your looks and what we call status. So women tend to care about, like, does a man, not only how he looks, face and physique and all that, but is he high status, right? Does he have a title like a doctor or a lawyer, or does he have like degrees or things like that, or does he dress a certain way? Is he someone famous? Is he whatever, right? Does he have some kind of status that gives me status because I'm with him?
Okay. And
so you got to combine looks and status together, 1 to 10, just again pretending you're in Australia.
Okay, so
because then we're going to adjust for Asia.
Actually, that's a big point. Yeah. So looks and status. You mean for me personally, or?
Yeah, judging yourself. You're giving yourself a score.
Okay, if I was in the same manager position I'm in here, at a gym over there, I'd say probably like a 6 or a 7.
For status? Okay, but looks, you're 6'3", you're ripped, you look like you could do modeling if you wanted to. Yeah. I mean, I'm just...
okay, so then
I'm going to say I think you got to give yourself a little higher there.
I mean, there's a good looking... I'd say a 7 then, probably a 7.
All right, so...
Because status probably leads that a bit more further. I mean, personally, what I think for Australian girls anyway.
Okay, and then the next thing is height, because one of the big factors women worldwide care about is how tall is a man. You see it on their dating apps all the time. If you're not over 6 feet, I don't want to date you.
So 6+ for sure.
So you're definitely getting bonus points there on the height, and then...
no kids.
No kids. So
no kids. That helps as well.
Helps you, and if I was the one going through this, I get dinged for having kids, but the interesting thing is women don't care as much whether a man has kids that he's still providing for versus how a man cares if women have kids that he would be expected to come in and be a stepfather to and has to then spend money on and things like that. So it's a lot bigger deal for that. All right, and then the last one. This is my own little way of scoring. It's a way of boosting the score that you would previously give yourself for Australia.
Sure.
Boosting it because we're in Asia.
Okay.
And I think you get a different boost in different countries in Asia, depending on how much they value Caucasian men, Western men. And so I have it that the Philippines and Indonesia is going to give you a bigger boost. Vietnam's a significant boost also. But then most of these countries, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Thailand, where we are now, and Japan, it's still a boost, but not quite as much as maybe the Philippines and things like that. So you would get a boost here out of 100 and an additional 10 points, or on a scale from 1 to 10, it would boost you up a full point, maybe even more than that.
Sure.
This is just theoretical, of course, at this point. So we'll look at that score. So what would that be? What did you give yourself? I still think the 4 is low, but for Australia,
for Australia, Thailand would be
times
a bit
5
higher.
is 20. 7 times 5 is 35.
Yeah.
So you're 55, and then you don't lose any points for kids or height, and then you're adding, so you're like 6.5, so you're like 7, like 6.5 or a 7 out of 10 is what you gave yourself. I think women on here that are watching this are going to be like, this guy's ridiculous. Are you kidding me? They're going to be like scoring you a lot harder than that. But anyway, I doubt anyone here in Thailand at all would ever think that you're a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. If you are, then I'm a 3. I mean, come on. So at 51 years old, and I got 5 kids and several things working against me. Of course, I have an 8-pack, and you only have a 6-pack, so it's a little bit.
There's a little bit of an advantage over here. So.
Anyway, all right. Anything else about what it's been like to live here or date here that we didn't talk about that you want to, or advice you would give to guys that have never come over and dated anywhere in Asia? What would you tell them?
I always try to, even friends back home, I try not to just tell them everything that I've done, but to say, look, come experience it. Because if you haven't been to Asia and you're a white guy, man, it'll be hard for you to go home. You know, from everything from the culture, the food, the kind of bending of the rules in some countries where it's not as strict as back home, the attention you get, the quality of life you can live, especially if you're in a decent position in life. I think if you're looking for, like, you know, to broaden your mind or like get a new experience, definitely Asia is one of the best places to come. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I want to add to that, and tell me if this has been your experience, then we can wrap up. Like, the obvious reason why a lot of people get just shocked in the beginning when they pull up a dating app here is they start to feel like they're the hot chick. They're getting all this. They're getting super likes. They're getting all this attention. Women will message them first, and they're matching and going out on dates with women that are just more beautiful than they can date back home. So that's the initial thing. But what I've really noticed after several years of dating in different countries here is that because the women I'm dating, even if in my book they're an 8 or a 9, they feel like they're just normal. Because they look around and they look like a lot of other people that are walking around on the streets. Like you said, every other stop. What was your expression? You fall in love at every stoplight? Is that what you said?
You'll fall in love at every traffic light.
Yeah. So women, they don't. So it doesn't ruin their personality. They don't think they're that rare. They don't think they're that special. They don't get treated super. They haven't been their whole life like handed everything and spoiled and treated with all this attention. So they tend to be, my experience, even when they look like that, they tend to be more sweet, more humble, more kind, more selfless, just more genuine and down to earth and easygoing about things.
Yeah. For what's average in Asia is, in my opinion, definitely better looking than your average girl in Australia.
Okay,
does that make sense?
Yes, and I agree. Yeah.
So, like you said, like your 6 or your 7 here is like a 9 back home, right? But there's so many more of them here who are actually a 9, but because there's such beautiful women here as well.
They think they're a 6.
They think they're like a 7, 6 or a 7, and they know that there's thousands and thousands and thousands in that same city that are just like them.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you get the ones actually you'll find that they think are 10s here, the ones who are from wealth, they're from high society, who they don't hang out in areas like we do. You don't see them. They're the ones on TV, the famous ones with the big following. They don't speak to you and I.
They're not interested in
Farangs? They are, but again, status plays a huge role.
So they'll get matched with some other family of status maybe or something?
Yeah, or they will, you know, I think it's pretty common for an Asian girl who's in a good position in life, who either from a rich family or earning a lot of money from, you know, being on TV or an actor or whatever, or a musician. They're not going to come down to this level. They're going to want to go up even higher because, you know, they're getting cars given to them, and the attention is mind-blowing for them, right? They're celebrities in their country.
Sure.
you know, they're not touchable, they're not reachable for like you and I. So and that's okay, because we don't really see them anyway. And if you would, like, you actually live a different lifestyle to those girls, so it's not going to match.
It's not going to
match. You might get lucky, but there's probably a good chance, and I'd say that for not just Thailand but Hong Kong and China, that if they don't know who you are, they're not interested. You know, you need to match their status.
Be somebody, yeah.
You need to be somebody.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks. Anything else we missed? Anything else you want to talk about?
Not really, man. I think that's about what I can give from my experience.
That's great. No, it's great. Tons of people are going to be interested in watching and seeing that not everybody that comes here, lives here, settles here is an old, fat white guy that can't date in his own country.
Yeah, If you're younger, come check it out. Yeah,
Awesome,
for sure.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
care.
buddy.